Hello and welcome to this week's episode in which I'm joined by Mark Wolters, also known as Wolters World on YouTube. Mark has amassed over 1 million subscribers on YouTube and provides viewers with honest travel content, which has collected a very loyal base of followers over the years. Today I'm going to ask Mark about what first got him interested in travel, some of his favourite places, YouTube, and of course anything else to do with travel. Mark, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Thank you, my friend. I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. And
Yeah,
thanks for having me on.
no, cheers, dude. Last time I saw you was doing a talk at TravelCon, which seems quite a
Yeah,
long time ago now, but that was a good event, wasn't
I
it?
know. It was literally only like a month ago, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah, that seems a long time away. So tell us, this is where you're based right now.
So I'm in Illinois right now.
Okay,
For the day job.
yeah. And what is your day job?
I'm a professor of marketing.
Oh, marketing. Key
Yeah.
in any sphere of business, right?
Yeah, but I usually focus on social media.
Okay,
But I teach like intro marketing courses, consulting kind of marketing courses, social media marketing courses. So
yeah.
nice variety of marketing stuff to help out people.
Okay, we're going to touch on social media later with your YouTube. But first of all, I'd like to
Okay.
get back like a backstory. Tell the
Sure.
listeners and the viewers what first got you interested in travel. Was there a trip when you were younger? Did you go on travel journeys much as a kid?
No, my vacations, my summer vacations as a kid was like we went to grandma's house for a week, which was like 3 hours away. And same stakes, it's US. And then our big summer trip, we went to grandpa's house, which was an 11-hour drive away, and we just stayed at grandpa's house for a week. Though that week we did get to go to amusement parks. That was like the highlights. We literally never did. There was never international travel. I mean, my grandpa took us across the border to Canada once, and I was like,
Oh,
"Ooh, their coins are different." So there was never any big travel when I was a kid. Where I mean, that same grandfather thing maybe planted some seeds because he had retired. He was a minister and he retired. And when he retired, they had him go and be like a minister for like 2 weeks, 3 months, or wherever they needed him around the U.S. So he'd always send us postcards from all the places he stayed. And I'm sad that we don't have any of them. So, it's like read throw away. And now I'm like, I wish I had those. So I actually have a huge collection of like hundreds of postcards I've sent to my grandma, my mom, my dad, my brother, like all my family members. They usually give them back to me. So I literally have like box full, like we're talking like a tote, huge full of
amazing.
postcards from all over the world.
There's something quite nostalgic about postcards, isn't there? This is a weird subject to
Yeah.
go on to straight away, but I think when you're younger, in the, I want to say the old days, they still exist, but when you got a postcard from someone abroad who you've not got contact with and they're writing on the back about what they got up to in like, I don't know, 10 sentences most, and you got the picture on your front, you're like, oh, is that what it looks like? It just gives you that,
Yeah.
I don't know what it
Well, the
is.
thing is,
Yeah.
like, my aunt still to this day, because I'll send them, and I always know how long it takes cards to get. Cause she texts me right away. I got your postcard, and I know how happy it makes her, and I'm like, cool. I'm
Yeah.
like, wow. Like she got one I sent from Italy. It was like 13 weeks. I'm like, I sent that from Italy like in January. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. You know, but it is fun, and like I tell people all the time, it's like, look, you want a cheap souvenir? No, everyone's gonna throw away that keychain you get them. They're not like
Yes.
send it like buy a postcard for 50 cents, buy a stamp for $2, send it back home. They're like, oh, I got a postcard for you. It's like I was thinking about you, and I just went to write hi, and then you don't waste any money, and you don't waste any luggage space, bring anything back for them either.
Absolutely. I think it's great for young kids as well. Like in 2023, we went for a year, and Emma, my partner, sent back, I think at the time there must have been 3 nephews and nieces, and they're very young, like very small. But I think they enjoyed seeing the picture. I think for young kids, it's quite good.
Oh yeah, they're like, I got mail.
Yeah.
Now my kids, like, I send them postcards. My kids like, I'm like, my wife reads it. I'm like, did you even show the kids? No. Like the kids cared. No. Like, I look at birthday cards. I'm like, dude, you got a birthday card. There's probably money in it. You might want to open it. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I'll get you that. I'm like, dude, come on.
When was your first international trip?
So somewhere in the 80s, that literally we drove across the bridge into Canada for like 2 hours and came back.
Okay.
But my first like real international trip, I was an exchange student in Australia when I was 16.
Oh, wow.
And it was like my second time flying. I flew from Chicago to LA, LA to Sydney, Sydney to Wagga Wagga. And that was my first time abroad. So I was 16, spent a summer in Australia.
Did you watch some cricket?
Cricket, no, but I did go to Australian rules football, and
Oh,
like the
yeah.
game I
Yeah.
went to in Adelaide at the time set the record for like most points scored ever. So it's like
Okay.
going to a match. It's like going to the the World Cup match where Brazil loses like 7-1 to Germany.
Yeah.
Like this doesn't really happen. Like I don't know, man, but this was like the awesomest game ever. And, like the people I went with, they actually sent me a T-shirt of that game because it was like such a like
Oh wow.
monumental destruction. They're like, oh, we made T-shirts. I'm like, awesome. So that was my first time abroad was that. And after that, I was hooked. After like before that, I was like, I'm gonna stay in my hometown. I'm gonna become the mayor, then the governor, then the president. And then after that, I was like, screw this. I'm going around the world.
Australia did that to me actually. Yeah, that's the first country what I would consider the first proper international trip, which I think for maybe Americans and Europeans is different. So like you still went to Canada, which technically is international, but I guess getting out of the mainland. Even for us, going to France, Germany, you do that on school trips. So my first proper trip was Australia, and it kind of changed my life a little bit. And yours
Cool.
by the sound of it, yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It totally did. It opened my eyes to so much more stuff. So it was cool.
What was the first thing you thought in Australia where it's completely different, or it just clicked something in your mind like, oh, this is
And
like,
I had a buddy pull me back from the side of the road as I was about to walk into the street and into oncoming traffic because the road was going the other direction. I'm like, oh my God, it's true. That is what kills most exchange students. Not looking the right way. I'm like, that's from then on. I'm like, I always like that was like the first day I'm like paying attention all the time now. That was the first time I realized it. And then I went to a chippy and got fries, whatever chips, and they wrapped them up in newspaper and they put
oh
the
wow,
salt
yeah,
and vinegar and
classic.
stuff on there. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Like, and then the ketchup was weird, like different, you know. I'm like, what is this? But I'm like, but damn, this is good. Because like in the U.S., I never put ketchup on top of my fries. I always had like on the side, you
Yeah.
know. Like I was 16, when I was a kid. I grew up in a farm town. Like there, you know, this is exciting stuff for me. And like I'm like, why did they put the ketchup on my stuff and then wrap it up? I'm so confused. And I open, I'm like, oh my God, this is so good. So I still remember like my last couple of days. I mean, this is like 30 some years ago. I still remember like my last couple of days, like, I gotta go back and get the chips one more time.
A good old legacy from the British days, I think. There you go. Yeah. We actually have a couple of places here in Vancouver who do that. I think they just try and draw in the British community here in Vancouver to go to the fish and chip shop, but it is wrapped in a newspaper with vinegar. It's just, that smell.
It's just something about it. You're like, man, that is good. That
Yeah.
is damn good. Because of course, whenever I go and I try to do it, I always mess it up. Like, damn, too much or not enough. And then I'm like, damn, too much.
Okay, and
I'm
then
like,
during...
just your fries, buddy.
Sorry?
What's up? No, nothing.
Okay. I was going to ask, going from Australia, because you're 16, it's quite young, going into adulthood, were you thinking at that point travel is going to be part of your life, or were you still going into, I guess, what I call real life career mode post high school, university?
So actually, I was in college, university, and I remember having to discuss. I was in business school, and I had this discussion with myself. Hey, you know, I want to see the world. Like, what's going to be a better chance? I could be a teacher, and I could have the summers off and travel,
Yeah.
or I could be a business person and then go see the world and go with business. My dad worked abroad. Like, he worked in Mexico and Korea, so he was gone a lot and abroad. I'm like, well, he goes abroad a lot for work, and my friends that became teachers all said they make no money, so I think that might be a better option. So I stayed in business school. But that was one of those, like, after that trip to Australia, I knew that travel was going to be a part of it. And like, I never thought like I'd be doing like YouTube. Like there was no YouTube. There was no internet
Sure.
when this
Yeah,
happened. Like I never thought of myself ever becoming like a Rick Steves kind of thing. Like that never crossed my mind. Then later on, like how life and the technology changed and things changed. But obviously travel would be a part of my life. I didn't realize it would be such a big part of my life.
Okay. And what was the first international trip as an adult then? Because 16, you're kind of still a bit of a kid. Was there one where you took a trip by yourself? You know, I'm going to go here, I guess, pay for my own fare.
So like in high school, I went to Australia for a summer. Then I went to Finland for a year for my like last year of high school. I graduated a year early, went exchange program. But then like by myself traveling, like I dated a German girl, so I was like flying to Germany to see her and do stuff. And then did the back, like my brother graduated his master's, I think, and then like I went with him and traveled backpack for 3 years with him for like 6 or 7 weeks, and then I like every summer I was backpacking someplace. I think when people think like, oh, adventurous kind of stuff, I think when I was in college, I went and backpacked South America for a while.
Oh, nice.
And that was really cool. So that was probably the first one where it was like outside of the like North America, European comfort zone.
What was South America like for you? Because for me, that did hit differently backpacking there. I couldn't really tell you any specifics.
I mean, you have a totally different type of traveler, totally different type of vibe. Locals are totally different. I mean, it's a completely different experience. I actually love going to South America. Like we do all kinds of stuff. I always feel bad because like nobody ever watches South America, Latin America videos like for travel. And I tell people all the time, like, look, those are great places to go. And if you got a family, man, there's lots of outdoor activities. So kids really like it. They're not
Mm.
bored of just museum, town hall, church, you could do more. So we take our kids at least once a year somewhere in Latin America, usually twice a year, and just have a great time down there. Cause I mean, I've had a great time there since like I went down to, let's see, the first time I went down to South America, well, Latin America, I went to Mexico, but with my dad. So that's like, I'm with my dad. So it's a little different. Was when I was in college, I went to Argentina. I was an exchange student there for a semester. And then I made a choice when I went there. I'm like, look, I can either party and do stuff when I'm here, or every other weekend I can go travel. So for the like, I don't know, 5-6 months I was there, every other weekend I would go someplace. So I'm going to Santiago, I'm going to Peru, I'm going to Southern Argentina, I'm going to Brazil, I'm going to Bolivia. And so that was when it was like, yeah, I'm going to do like, so I made a point to do that. Whereas I had other people, when they were doing the same study abroad program, they never left. And that's something I tell my students now when they go to study abroad. I'm like, look, you should take the chance to go see as much as you can, because when you're older, you might not have that opportunity. You might have that chance. So do it. Like, you don't have time when you're older. You don't have that kind of freedom when you're older. Like, you got a job, you got responsibilities, you got a family, you got a mortgage, you ain't got time. And so I'm like, I would just go. But the thing is, I saw this when I taught in Portugal. So many of the Erasmus students, the study abroad students, they would come. They're like, oh, we're going to go travel around. And then no one would buy their tickets, and like, they like, we're going to go out tonight. And then it'd be Thursday, they go out. Then no one would go on Friday. And you have like one person that would like, I'm waiting for them to buy their tickets. And I tell my students, I say, look, because coming from the U.S., it's so much farther. Like, look, it's not like, oh, if you're in the U.K., whatever, you go anywhere you want. But like I'm like, look, plan where you want to go, book your tickets, have it set up once you know your class schedule, and just book it. And then tell people, look, I have my tickets for these dates. If you want to come with, great, but I'm going to be going. Because I'm like, don't ever buy tickets for anybody else, because they'll back out and you're out of the money. And they're like, well, they said we could get it. I'm like, no, tell them to buy their own. You can send your itinerary. Because I saw so many students just burn so much money, and the other students didn't care. They're like, whatever, I'm going back to Greece next. Who cares? Like, I'm going to wherever. I'm like, just plan your trips, set your things up so you can go. If they want to go, great. If they don't, no big deal. You still have your stuff set up. And I've had a lot of students that have come back and said that was like the best advice, because they're like, you're right. Because then people would like go drinking, and they're like, oh, they wouldn't like go, or they forget to buy the tickets. They push it off. They're like, I'm just going to have a fun weekend this weekend. And they wouldn't travel as much as they probably could have.
Yeah, it's great advice.
Which is fine. You're enjoying the culture. You're there. So.
Because I think even nowadays, if you try to plan your trip post that stage, maybe mid-20s, and you want a gap year or 6 months, and you're kind of waiting on someone, it's risky, isn't it? Because there's always great plans to be talked about, but actually put an action to words.
I mean, think about it. People listen to this. How many times do you talk to somebody about, let's do a trip together?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, because I get that a lot. Like, oh, I'd love to travel with you. I'm like, cool. Here's where I'm going. Here's like, I'd be like, yeah, we're gonna do it. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna book our hotel, and I'll book, because we'll have friends that have kids and stuff. I'm like, I'll book our hotel. I'll book our hotel for my family. I'll book our tickets. I'll send you the information. And they're like, I'm like, hey, you guys. I mean, and I'll ask like, "What, you guys gonna go? Because I got the stuff." Oh yeah, we're gonna go. I'm like, and I won't say anything else until like a week before. I'm guessing you're not going. Oh yeah, no, it just didn't kind of work out. I'm like, yeah. I mean, they're like, we're sorry. So I'm like, I'm not sorry. I understand. That's how it works. So it's gonna be
in the early days of you traveling, like South America, Europe, compared to now, is it easier to be adaptable now because you can just like go on your phone and book, I don't know, a flight, a hostel, a hotel? Or do you prefer booking in the early days, like how that worked?
It's different, because back then you didn't have a lot of people traveling, so you literally could have a Lonely Planet book and like the 4 hotels they listed, you could go and find stuff. Or I remember going to like Prague or Budapest in like the 90s, and people like coming up to you on the train station, hey, you need a place to stay? Great. So you could literally show up and find something. Whereas now I feel like it's almost like you have to have stuff kind of booked beforehand just in case. So in a way, it's like the information technology has made it so much easier that we can be last minute. But because of that, there's so much more like I need to make sure I'm ready for it, because I don't know if I'll be able to get into someplace. So that's where it's kind of funny. It's like we have more information, but it seems like we have less options sometimes. But before we didn't have any options, but we were cool with it. So there's a lot more accepting of like the risk of, hey, why not? But I think where it's better now is people are more like, hey, let's try different places. Like people go to more places in the world now. Whereas before it's like, oh, I'm never going to go to Rwanda. Now you're like, I'll go to Rwanda. That place is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Like you have this whole different like mentality of it, because even 20 years ago, I remember, I was studying, I was living abroad. People were like, oh my God, I would love to do that one day. Now, digital nomads, study abroad. I mean, when I studied abroad in college, and they were like, oh, like 5% of students do it. Now, there's universities like, we want 100% of our students going abroad, So it's like a whole different vibe.
Do you ever sort of look back and kind of wish you could travel back in maybe the 90s? Because I was too young for the 90s to travel, and I do look back. It's that weird thing where you look back in nostalgia, but you can't actually go back to any memories because you're too young, right? But I think traveling in the 90s would have been quite cool.
No, I liked, I mean, I enjoyed all the decades. I tried 90s, 2000, 2010, 20s. There was that weird window, 2021 was a little odd. But like,
Yeah.
aside from there,
Oh, yeah, what was that?
I've enjoyed all our travels. I think some of the things I do miss is like when you would travel in the 90s, when there wasn't social media, it was really like you were an explorer on your own.
Hmm.
And you did, there were a few travel books you could get. Let's Go Europe, if you're a college student, or you had Lonely Planet, you had these things. And so you had like, you could tell like everybody was doing the same thing. So like, I remember traveling with my brother, this is, back in the 90s, and we could tell which way people were going. Like, oh, where were we before? Because they're like, oh, you're following the Let's Go track, or oh, you're in the Lonely Planet way. So you can kind of tell where people are going or what they were using. So it's kind of funny because you're like, oh, you're using Frummers. Okay. Well, how'd you know? I'm like, I don't know, because you stayed at this hostel and you were here, this thing, and you started
Mm.
there. And so it was kind of fun. I do miss the, I guess I say the camaraderie
Yeah.
of traveling in the 90s, early 2000s, because you'd go to hostels and like, since there wasn't really, I mean, there was some social media, but there wasn't really much there, not like now. So people would be like, hey, what did you do? Hey, where were you coming? Yeah,
Mm.
you'd learn so much more from other travelers. It was kind of like when we were in travel, kind of everyone's like just sharing ideas and stuff, right?
Yeah, yeah,
No one
yeah,
had their phone out. We're all like sharing ideas and
yeah.
talking, and I'm not trying to be the old fart saying, oh, phones, no, phones are great. But everybody was like much more interactive. Like you came to the hostel, you went to the bar, you talked to everybody downstairs. You were at the hotel, you sat in the lobby and talked to the people there. Like you had that thing. Whereas now it's like, no, I go to my room, get on my phone, get the Wi-Fi. Or if I'm in the lobby, I'm on my phone and my Wi-Fi, and I'm not integrating. I'm not talking to people, which is funny because like now when I try to say hi to people, they're like, what are you saying hi for? I'm like, I'm chatting. Like, oh, okay. Whereas there is like people would chat right away.
Yeah. I caught the tail end of that, I think, early 2010s, which I do miss, actually. I do hark on about that quite a lot. And I think what I was gagging for last year when I went to El Salvador was like, right, I just want hostels because I feel El Salvador is new because it's you can go there now, right? And I was thinking,
Yeah.
let's go and see what hostels are like. And I did find them quite engaging with travelers because you meet people like biking down or traveling through Central America. And it was the place out of my trip, Mexico and Guatemala, where I thought there's much more camaraderie, stories, and because maybe because it's an unknown country to a lot of people, right? When you arrive in El Salvador, you don't even know if it's safe. Can I go there? Can I do this? So I think there's a bit more chit chat amongst travelers, which I kind of loved. It kind of was like a throwback a little bit.
Yeah. Oh no. And that's the thing I like about it. And I actually find that more. I find that more when I go to South America and Latin America, like having that chit chat vibe kind of stuff than I do like traveling in Europe.
Mm.
It's a little more reserved. The tourists seem to be a little more reserved what they want to share. So, like if you go to Southeast Asia, people are like sharing again. It's like a
Yeah.
similar thing. Like let's share the vibe. So
And I'd love to know what type of traveler you were and are. So back in the day, were you the classic budget backpacker just trying to get the most for your dollar? Yeah.
I had no money. Hell, I don't have money now. It was like like the old 50 see Europe on $50 a day and with your hotel with everything. Like yeah, it's like I was looking at those things, going for the tapas to get the free snack when you're getting your eats, and then like the lunch special stuff, like the things that tried to they're still good to this day. Hit those up. I mean, you didn't have Aldi everywhere back then, but I would still like, oh, I'll go to the grocery store and grab like a sandwich or something that's there for like, a Deutschmark versus going out to eat for 12 Deutschmarks, kind of stuff. So yeah, I was definitely when I was young, very much a budget traveler, typical college student,
Yeah.
budget traveler kind of stuff. Now I'm much more like middle class, I would say, like, but I make my videos for everybody. So it doesn't matter if
Okay.
you're rich or poor, if you're, family or a solo traveler, it's all information is going to help you. That's why like our logo is a person going down the train. It's the train logo here in the US for Amtrak.
Yeah.
It's just the standard. And the reason is because it doesn't matter if you're rich, poor, men, women, whatever, like we all take the train. And
Hmm.
so if you're going to travel, you all take the train. It's the great equalizer. Yeah, the first class, yeah, but let's be honest, most train, it's all the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're all the same. So I try to help all travelers. So that kind of works out nice.
Okay. I've got some of the more of those questions coming up actually because I like to know what type of traveler you are, and then we'll get into some countries. What's been the one or two things that you've definitely learned on your travels from local people worldwide? Because I guess a lot of people are scared to go to different cultures because maybe they've been told there's a certain way they say things, do things. So what have you learned that's kind of valuable?
I've learned that the news will only tell you the worst information about any destination. They will never tell you the good because no one would like. I see my own videos. Like I try to do like my biggest series are these don'ts. So traveling, and
Yeah,
everyone people come in thinking, oh, it's gonna be negative. What you don't do when you go there. I'm like, yeah, but it's don't forget. So it's like it's more do's and then some don'ts than it is don'ts. But no one does. No one watches like what you should do. It's
yeah.
like, what don't you do? And so you have that. So like, there's just so much negativity out there. That's why we always should be very positive in our videos. Even if I'm talking about negative topics, I'll put it not in a positive light, but I'll put it in a realistic, objective light versus like, oh, I can't believe this happened. You're like, oh, come on. It's much more a realistic kind of thing. I mean, probably hurts my views and my thumbnails, but but at least I know I'm helping people the right way, and that's one thing I try to do. So one, like just so much like people focus on the negative, so that's all that comes up in the mail, or sorry, on the news and stuff and
Hmm.
social media. Also, I think another thing people need to realize is everywhere you go in the world, everybody's the same. We all want to eat good food. We all want to spend time with our friends and family. We want to have a good time. That is the same everywhere. It doesn't matter where you go. And then people are like, oh, they're so different. Are they? Are they really?
Yeah,
No.
no,
And I
absolutely
think
not.
that's one thing once people realize that. That's why I think when people start to realize, like, dude, we're all the same everywhere. That's when the whole world opens up, and it's not just certain countries or regions. You're like, dude, we can go anywhere because you can focus on those main things.
Has there been anywhere that's had like reserved people, maybe where it took a bit longer to get into the comfortable stage of like chatting to locals?
Yeah, so I would say like going to Scandinavia in general, people are very reserved. But like I always say, the Finns, like if you're an introvert, Finland is great for you because no Finn is going to bother you. They're not going to talk to you. You can do whatever you want. However, what I always tell people is like you can say that, but once a Finn has a topic they want to talk about, they will talk to you about it for hours. And then once they finish saying what they want, they'll completely stop the conversation. Like it's over. You're like, wait, are we still talking? No, no. I said what I was saying. Gone. Bye. So there is that. I do see that sometimes they're a little bit reserved for that, but they're still fun.
Okay, and that kind of goes into the next question. Do you think those sort of fears that you mentioned earlier about the media telling you something will stop people from traveling
Oh, for sure. I
mostly?
mean, I have people that I will even my parents like I don't know, Mark. I don't know. I'm like I'm telling you, I have been there. That's why I only give advice for places I go. I was like, I have been there.
Mm,
I've done the research. I filmed it. It's okay. Like I don't know. I saw this thing in the news. I'm like, I'm telling you, you'll be okay, mom. So that's one of those things that kind of like I'm like.
what's the one country that maybe you went to where, let's say, your parents are really worried about you, but actually it turned out to be amazing. You came back and had a load of good stories.
I think the one place people get the most scared we were going to, well, two was El Salvador, and we were there before things changed. We were there like
Really
2000, yeah, we were
interesting.
there right before COVID happened. So like it
Ah,
was still it was like it
huh.
was a different time,
Yeah,
and people were really scared. I'm like, I did the research. We knew people there. I'm like, we're not going to where it's going to be. We're not hanging. We're hanging with the tourist places. We'll be fine.
yeah.
But the one that actually probably got people the most scared was Rwanda, and they're like, Rwanda, the genocide. I'm like, yeah, the genocide. It was 30 years ago.
In the 90s, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, it was 30 years ago. I mean, if you go there, I mean, the thing was, when we went, there was no blogs, there was no nothing about it. No one ever. I
Mm.
mean, that was like going there was going in blind again, basically. It was like for me as not as a YouTuber, but as like a traveler, I was like, God, I'm like learning everything like hands on right here. Super incredibly friendly people. I mean, literally, you could eat off the highway. It was so clean. I'm like, I wish my city was this clean because dang, it is so clean there. It was just like such a great experience. But people are like, oh no, the genocide. And I'll see people in our videos. Like anytime I make a don'ts video, there's always someone who says, well, don't go there. That's the number one don't. Yeah. I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
gosh,
great.
get over yourself.
Classic.
YouTube girls, they're hilarious.
Yeah, we're coming to it. Tell me a place where you maybe first experienced culture shock, and do you think you can experience that more than once? Culture shock.
You get culture shock all over the time. I mean, you can get culture shock in your own country. It's like I was going to Savannah, Georgia. I'm like, why are you giving me a styrofoam cup of wet peanuts? What the hell is this? I'm so confused. And people were upset I wasn't eating boiled peanuts right. I'm like, oh, this is, you know. So you have those. I think, yeah, there's some things that'll get you every time it happened. I remember spitting in China. It's gotten better, but when I was there, I was teaching there one summer.
Ah,
And the spitting everywhere, and the little kids stopping and peeing and pooing on the street, like literally just stopping and dropping and boom. Like that was one. No matter how many times I saw it, I was like, oh yeah. Like
mm,
you haven't experienced until you're like in 110-degree heat in Beijing, waiting to go in the Forbidden City in some dad's having his kid poop into a trash can, and you're like, you know what? I can honestly say I was scared. I still remember that. And my son and I, my older son and I, we were together, and we both turned right at that moment, like the crowd parted when the kid
Yeah.
went, and we're like, that kid just pooped Cheetos. Like it was like, oh yeah, that I mean, and I'd seen it before, but it's still every time I'm like, oh yeah, because I've had the spitting thing as well. I've seen that. Like I've taught executives before, and this is years ago, but like people were like spitting in the classroom on the floor. Like
All
so,
right.
there's still things you're like, oh, yeah, that was interesting.
Has that got better since COVID, do you think, in China? Or is that still a
That's
thing?
gotten better since the Olympics, like in 2008, because they had a big program there to like get people to spit less. So it's actually way better
Yeah.
than it was.
Right.
And because but it was there's still some residual
Yeah, that's fair enough.
stuff, but it's way better than it was. I mean that's what I was saying. It's the whole different thing.
Okay.
Wow.
You mentioned accommodation, but do you have a preference which type of accommodation you stay in? Is it homestays? Is it mid-range hotels?
So I used to be a big apartment rental guy because when
Yeah.
my kids were little, because we come back and do stuff. But now, like my oldest, he's going away to college or university. You know, he's leaving, and my younger now it's kind of like and how the fees for all the like the Airbnb stuff and all the extra BS you have to do, and you can't check in early, you
Yeah.
can't check out late. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do with my luggage for like 5 hours? You know, like wander around Paris with all this stuff. You know, like I know there's luggage. For those that are going to comment, well, there's places you can leave your luggage. Yes, there are, but not everywhere.
No,
You know,
true.
and so like that's one thing I would say we were peak apartment rental until maybe well through COVID. Then we kind of moved back to hotels because I'm not paying an extra like $300 cleaning fee for $200 cleaning fee for 2 nights when I'm literally just sleeping in the bed like a one room thing. Like that kind of stuff really turned me off because it used to be like, oh, if we're gonna stay more than 3 nights, we're gonna stay at an apartment rental. Now it's like if we're gonna be there a week, we'll do apartment rental. So we've gone back to the hotel thing because now how we kind of do our thing. If both our kids do come, we have to have 2 rooms anyway now because they're big.
Yep.
So it's like, hey, we get our own room, they get our own room. Security stuff, we have that, and I always like to talk to the concierge or the front desk and kind of get their vibes on thing. And I'll talk to the day one and then the night one because there's going to be 2 very different perspectives. To a lot of hotels, they'll bring in people that aren't from that city to run the hotel, and so they don't really know the real city stuff. So I always find like talking to like the night manager or the night watchman kind of stuff. So you're looking for a good bar, you can go ahead. I'm like, oh, thanks, man. So it's always good to get information from multiple sources.
And I think even hostels these days are getting quite expensive. And I think then they're kind of...
I can't believe, like, I remember houses I got $10-15. And then I remember, like, this was 10 years ago. I remember going, hey, if there's 2 of you, go look for a cheap hotel.
Yeah.
Or hell, look for a medium price hotel because it might be cheaper than you 2 having to get the hostel and rent the stuff. And now, shoot, there's places where hostels are just as much as hotels.
It's crazy.
So I'm like, okay, you want the hostel atmosphere, especially those hostels that have done a really good job of like becoming like a destination hostel. You know, like,
Yes.
oh, look at all the cool stuff we
Yeah.
have. You're like, so you're paying all that extra, but you're really just sleeping there. Like, if I'm paying that much, I want my own crapper.
Yeah. I actually did that in Guatemala. I stayed in a Selena hostel for the first time.
Yeah.
Because I thought, you know what? People mention Selena all the time on my podcast. Okay, I'll go and stay in one. The most expensive accommodation that I stayed in on the trip. And I didn't even have my own crapper. I just had to go outside and go to a different room. This is like
Around,
supposed to be a hostel.
I guess I put my clothes back on.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Yeah, it's weird. It's gone since COVID. It's gone completely crazy. I think those prices. Maybe they're trying to recoup some business. I get it, but yeah.
Well, I mean, I liked what they did because when the hostels first started changing, it was like they just had the dorm rooms, and then they started having family rooms. You know, so there was like they had in case you want to. So there was like, and there was like, so it was kind of like a little extension. There's people that want privacy, you know, maybe religious reasons or whatever. And then all of a sudden, it's like, are you really a hostel anymore? You just say you're a hostel, but you charge like hotel price.
Yeah.
Dumb hostel rules. Like, oh, got to be in bar 10 and don't leave your food in the fridge, otherwise it's free game.
Yeah, that's a good point actually. I've not thought about it that way. Is it just now a hostel because they say it is, but actually, if you think about it in terms of the price and the facilities, is it even a hostel? Yeah, that's a good question.
I know. And that's just it, because there's the whole mental side of it. Like, if I tell you you're going to a B&B, or I tell you you're going to a homestay, or I'm telling you you're going to a part hotel, they're all the same thing.
Yeah,
But you're
yeah,
like, but I
yeah.
have a whole different mental perspective of how I'm going to treat
Yes.
it, what I expect to get, right? So you say hostile, like, oh, I don't have to be as friendly. I can have it closed for part of the day. All I have to do is like throw a bar in there and some laundry service, and they'll be like, oh, we're a hostel. We're cool and hip.
Yeah.
It's kind of it's a marketing thing. I mean, I
Yeah.
can go for hours about that. So
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And have you been anywhere?
that's a different podcast. That's a different
Yeah, yeah,
podcast.
yeah. We'll do marketing on a separate one. Have you traveled anywhere you didn't like?
I don't really like. There's some places I would say this place I was kind of disappointed in. Like I always joke about Brussels being a disappointment for me, but it's because and I say the same story all the time. Because if you're in the U.S. and especially back in the day when I lived abroad, actually not just in the U.S. but I lived abroad, and it was be like news from Europe, live from London, Paris, and Brussels, and so in my
Mm.
mind they were equal. Well,
Yeah.
let's be realistic. Like Paris and London are way up here. Brussels is like a tier three school, not a tier one. They're like a tier three
Oh
place,
wow.
right?
Not even tier
And
two.
having thought of it as a tier one forever, I was always disappointed. I'm like, oh wait, no. If I thought about like being a realist, objective kind of person, the reason why it's in the news all the time is because the European Union's based there. It's
Hmm.
not really anything. It's not. I mean, it's got some stuff to see, but there's like 5 other places you go first in Belgium before you go to Brussels. So.
Yeah. Okay. Has there been any time when a local person has got you out of trouble? Maybe unknowingly got yourself in trouble and they came to the rescue, or you maybe.
Oh, I can tell you one. Yeah, there's we were in I was in Mexico. This is many years ago, and I met some locals there. We were hanging out all around Guadalajara, going around, and I was young. I had long hair, skinny, long blonde hair, all this kind of stuff. And we ended up getting a hitchhiking in the back of a pickup truck to get away from these guys. And we're going down, and the guys are chasing us. We're in the pickup truck, and they're like following us. And then we end up hiding behind like a wedding party as they're doing their pictures, and then the guys kind of left us alone. And then we're like heading back to where my friends were from, and they're like, "Hey, if we start running," and this is like a place where it's Guadalajara, like this is back in the day, so
Yeah.
this isn't recent, this is back in the day, and they're like, "Hey, if we start running, just run, don't stop." I'm like, I can get a taxi. It's not. I mean, I was like, trying to impress these people. Like, I'm like, I'm like, I can get a taxi. It's okay. And they're like, no, 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 it'll be fine. And then this taxi comes up. It's like, yo, y'all can't be here. Y'all get this taxi right now. Like, you ain't paying. You're not. Yeah, let's go. And so, I mean, I was a kid at the time. I don't think I was in college yet. So I was like, you don't know. And
Yeah.
that was the guy's like, yeah, I'm not letting this happen. You get in the damn car. I'm taking you home. Drop me off. Everything was cool. But it was kind of interesting. It was like, that guy's like, yo. And that's one thing is like, you have people who are like, hey, pay attention. That's why, like people joke. I mean, remember back when everybody would have their iPad and take pictures with their
Mm.
iPad everywhere?
Yeah.
And like I remember I was living in Brazil and staying in Brazil a lot at the time. I'd be like Rio and like on the beaches there, people like with their iPads
Oh
out. I'm like, yo, you don't want to do that here, man.
no.
Oh, it's fine. No one's gonna. I'm like, dude, you understand? Like, you can't do that. And like the locals are like, good for telling us. They're like, I don't speak English, so thank you for telling the dumbass tourists. Pardon my language. The dumb tourists like put their iPad away. Like, don't do that. So there's that's what the says. Always kind of like to do is like, hey, just FYI. Yeah, and anytime, not anytime, but if I see somebody doing something, I'm like, hey, you might not want to do that.
Hmm.
Or whenever I see, like, I'll see people that'll leave their like backpacks unzipped, or if it's a lady that has the flap over her bag and her flap's open and it's like a drawstring, so I'm like, I mean, I could rob you. Like, I would literally say, it's
Yeah.
like, you might want to close that because I could pickpocket you right now. And they're like, you're gonna pickpocket me? Like, no, I'm telling you, I could, and you wouldn't even know it, and you're
Hmm.
leaving your stuff up, so don't do that.
Yeah.
So there's those things. Yeah, and some people don't want that help. I'm like, hey, but I know I helped them out, and they didn't realize it.
I think in Rio, you mentioned Rio. That's the first thing we got told about Copacabana Beach. Great during the day, but just have your wits about you. But at night, don't even bother going on it because it can be quite sketchy. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and it's like the beach side, just the other side of the street. That's the street side, like
Yeah.
not the beach. Like that right there can make a huge difference. We usually
Yeah.
stay at Leme, which is Copacabana, and then go up a bit to Leme. There's
Hmm.
like a huge like police training facility there, and we're like staying by that. They're still like, yo, stay over here, stay by. All right.
Okay. I've picked out some random places from your YouTube, actually. Just a couple of questions. You've actually mentioned two of them already. Rwanda. You've got a lot of videos on Rwanda. I guess that is because you mentioned before about maybe people not sure if it's safe there, so it's good content to
Oh
release
yeah,
because
I mean,
people
there
can
was
trust it.
literally nothing, and so
Yeah.
like it was like because we had such a good time. Because it's like whenever I travel, I have like I'm like this. I always want to do the don'ts, and then I'll probably do like a food video or something for Wolters World Eats channel or something.
Hmm.
But it's like 2 or 3 videos I'm always gonna make no matter what. And then it's like, if I really enjoy a place, like I want to do some more. Then I might do a Shocks as well, or a Love and Hate. Like I'll try to figure out what are more things I can highlight, And so we'll kind of go through that. So Rwanda's one of those ones I'm like, I'm loving this. Like I want to, what I can do to help promote this place. Like let's do it. Like that's why I do all these. That's why I keep going down to South America, and making all these Latin America videos too. It's like I want more tours going down there because everyone's like they're scared. Like oh, the
Mm.
cartels are gonna get you, the narcos are gonna get you, and you're like,
Rwanda's interesting because I was going to ask. I guess it's more than just gorilla trekking, right? There must be more to see and do than that.
yeah. Well, the thing is, you have the Gorillas in the Mist, and when you go there, they'll tell you though people that literally fly in Kigali, and they fly out to where the Gorillas Mist. They go in that
Yeah.
helicopter in, they fly back, and they're gone.
Yeah.
But you can go see the Big Five when the safari
Oh,
stuff. You can do that
yeah.
when you're there. Lots of nature stuff that's there. The people are fantastic. Like we were going to villages, and they never see tourists. They're like, oh my god! And then when they saw our kids, they totally freaked out. They're like, children. So it was just cool. Like, and like my kids were playing soccer, football,
Oh
with
yeah, yeah, yeah,
local villages. We're
yeah.
giving the soccer balls away and stuff. It was like this is so cool. And so like it was just a really great experience going around. Food actually, if you're a vegetarian,
Hmm.
fantastic vegetarian food in Rwanda. And the thing is, they're not like vegetarian because they're like we don't eat animals. It's because it would be stupid for us to kill the cow because we can use the dung for fertilizer. We
Of
can
course,
burn
yeah,
it as fuel. The blood we can use in things. The milk we
yeah.
can use in things. The cheese we can make. And so you have that. So there's like a banana peanut dish that's from there that's just incredible. I can't think of the name of it right now, but it's
Hmm.
just it's like if you see anything with bananas and peanuts meal in Rwanda, you must get it. You must. It's amazing.
What else do they eat? Like just for savory dinner time? Is that rice and beans and stuff like
Yeah,
that?
there was meat dishes. Like you could get meat dishes. Like if you went to
Mhm.
like you could have the whole buffet if you went to like the hotels for their buffet. But there was rice and chicken, and there was like lots of stewed stuff there as well. I have to
Mm.
look to go back and see the other. It's just that one thing really stuck in me forever was just like the peanuts and the thing. Also, banana beer. You can get banana beer there. They make beer out of bananas.
Banana beer.
Yeah, it was okay. It's like you could drink. If I didn't tell you, you'd be like, "What is that flavor?" And then then I told you, like, "Oh, okay, I can get it." It's like one of those things, like, "Oh yeah, yeah, maybe you could,
Mm.
but you maybe could get it."
What made you decide to go to Rwanda?
I remember the genocide stuff, the news, and
Yeah.
then for some reason, like we were going to Kilimanjaro, and we were going to go, do safari in Tanzania, and we're like, yeah, and my wife was like, I want to go to Rwanda. She had watched Joseph Rosendo from Travelscope. He went to
Okay.
Rwanda. We used to watch his shows all the time. And was like, fell in love with it. He loved it too. And we're like, okay, we're going. And I like, cause he was very much, he's still around, very much open-minded to cultures, and he'll do the silly stuff. You're like, oh, we need someone to dance the cultural dance. Sure. Why not? And I respected that because like, you know what? Why not? Some
Mm.
people get upset. Well,
Yeah.
how do you dare dance it down? Like, dude, he's there. They asked him to do it, and he
Yeah.
did it. Like that was cool, And so that was nice. He always wanted to like just open people's minds to show things. And I was like, yeah. And then we ended up going. It was just like I know we helped a lot of people decide that Rwanda could be a place for them too. So worked out.
Okay. Anything else to say on Rwanda before I move on to the next place?
Go. Super clean, safe, very safe, friendly people.
Okay. My next place, which you've mentioned already, is China. Because I saw your YouTube playlist that features the 10 shocks of China. I guess spitting is one of them. What else is there a bit of a shock for China that people should be aware of?
It's been a few years since I've been there, but
Yeah.
I do remember. I don't think this is in the video, but I do remember anytime you saw Shrek in a restaurant, it meant they sold like donkey meat,
Got it.
which
Okay.
was funny. I mean, now it's not as popular. They probably use it more because no one watches Shrek anymore. But like this is years ago, and I'm like, why is there Shrek? I'm like, oh, right. And I always say it's like, look, don't bother asking what it is because no one's gonna be able to tell you because no one speaks English. Like
Mm.
it's not gonna happen. If you go like in some places like taxi, you should be able to figure out a taxi. No, use a rideshare app there. Just have the rideshare app take you want to go. And I always tell people, you go to a hotel, take the card, take multiples of it, because I guarantee that taxi driver, if you're in like, for example, Beijing, they're probably not from Beijing. They have no idea where anything is. You can't say, go
Sure.
to the National Museum. Like, I don't know. You have to have that so they can put in and they can go. So there is that. Yeah, the spitting is always a surprising thing. The little
Hmm.
kids like walking in, they're like holding their hands, and like, okay, stop, drop, and plop. It was always kind of funny. Yeah, another shot. Like if you end up in the hospital there, Just the number of just like you understand Canada's got a lot of people. US has a lot of people, but you don't understand how many people China has. And if you're in a place like Shanghai and Beijing, I mean, it's
Mm.
just people on top of people on top of people. And one thing I noticed when I was in China, the people were super friendly. Like if we were like one on one, two, three people were awesome, showing me around, offering me all kinds of great stuff. But whenever they got to be like a big group of people, it's like people changed. They're like, oh, I got to get on the metro. I got to get my food. We would see people fighting over food, like the best fruit at the grocery store. I
Oh
want
wow.
this China. And they're like, oh, and we just would sit back till they'd be done. And we'd take, well, that was good enough for me. So that was kind of a shocking thing when we were there. But I really thought the people were super nice. Also, I teach a lot of students who are from China,
Hmm.
and it really helped me to understand the Chinese mentality better having worked there. Because, excuse me, the whole impact of the one-child policy and how,
Oh
I
yeah.
have a
Yeah.
daughter, and so we're gonna have to take care of my parents, and my mom was an only child. My dad had a sister. Like, there's all this, but now you think about it, it's like, wait, that one-child policy has been so long that my 20-year-old college student knows that, hey, I'm gonna have to support my parents and probably my
Yeah.
four grandparents, and then maybe there might be some great grandparents up, and all of it falls on me. Like
Yeah.
that's a whole other level of pressure that I don't think the U.S. students or British students or Canadian students have when it comes to going to college. Whereas here, it's a different thing. So, and that's where I learned a lot because usually I teach really big classes, like hundreds of students and stuff. But this one I had like 20, 25 students. And so I really got to talk to them. And, I made a point to like talk to all the students and get to meet them all. And like they were sharing all their stories about stuff. I'm like, dang, didn't know that. So kind of interesting stuff.
Yeah. My friend's Chinese here, and it's a weird one. You hear about it, and you think, oh, is it true? So I start, you ask him, do you have any siblings? He's like, no. He goes, I've got a cousin, one cousin. They have no siblings. I'm like, oh, it is real. And he's like, yeah, it's a problem now because the Chinese population, especially the older, is obviously living much older. So they're now in a situation where he's the same age as me, but his grandparents are still alive, but his parents are retired. So there is that support system for both of those sets because they live so long. But that's on one wage or two wage if you want to include the spouse. It's just a lot
Yeah.
of pressure coming. I guess it's the millennial population. There's a lot of pressure coming their way to support, I think.
Oh yeah. And I
Yeah.
mean the numbers say it was like it's like 1.2, 1.3 billion right now, and they're projecting 2100, maybe 500 million people in China. I'm like, that is a huge demographic
Yeah.
thing. The thing is that
Yeah.
demographic, Italy, Japan, those are other countries that have big demographic issues coming.
Yeah. And for China, you mentioned the language. I would assume, unless you're going to stick to maybe Shanghai and Beijing central parts, you're going to need to know some Mandarin, right? Surely.
You can learn some Mandarin, but if people understand you is a whole other thing.
Okay, right.
There's this thing called pinyin where basically it's like how you can sound out the words. It's like phonetic spelling of the characters. It's hard to find people that understand you that way. That's why I'm like, those translation apps are helpful, but it's always interesting to see what you get from those. That's why I'm always like, have a pen, like pin your hotel, download the maps so no matter if you have signal or not, they can track it and you'll be able to get there. Have the hotel card. Uh, what we would do, like, and the thing is, like, the people were helpful, and so you would go to like we were at this one restaurant. Everything was on skewers. Like we know what I was. They're like chicken, pig. I'm like, all right, so like. We figured it out. Like that's just said. Like you have to realize, people, we've been around for millions of years. We figured it out. Like
Yeah.
when we go there, we don't understand. But that was the thing. Is like sometimes I'm like there's this food I had on. I eat street food all the time, and I
Hmm.
got sick quite a few times. But I don't care because it was so good. I didn't. I know this is gonna nail me, but dang it, it's so good. I remember this one guy. He would sell like it was like a pancake with like an egg in it and some lettuce, the sauce, and then just a little bit of meat in it. It was basically like a pancake sandwich. Bad, horrible definition of it, but pancake sandwich. And I remember I'd always walk over the street to come down, and he'd be right there, and his little like this bike and stuff. And he's like cooking it up there, and I'm like, "Yep, yeah." And I know every time my stomach is like, "You're gonna die," but I'm
Hmm.
like, "This is so good." Don't care. So yeah, so there was one time I'm like, I remember it's calling my wife. I'm like, I'm coming home. And she was like, oh, it takes you like 15 minutes to get back. So she's like, goes to the bathroom, and I'm like pounding on the door. I'm like, I'm over here. He's like, how did you get here so fast? I'm like, because I have to go.
I think you got to expect it. If you're willing to get stuck into the local food and culture, I think
Yeah,
you've got to accept that.
that's what
India's
made
the
it right
same.
though.
Yeah. Yeah. And for China, did you travel when there was bullet trains? And if so, is that easy to do as a tourist? Because my friend was saying something about you need some sort of app and maybe like a local card or something, and it's not quite as like
So
simple.
when I was there, they didn't have the apps so much, but you could like if I wanted to get the train ticket, there's only certain spots you could go buy it, and then you had to have certain like it was a lot more complicated than like Amtrak or what is it, Via Rail. Can't
Mm,
can't like I can just go online, Amtrak.com, I got my tickets, show and
yeah,
go. There's a little bit more stuff there. Also, like if you want to pay for things, if you have to have a bank account from there, that's a
yeah.
whole other problem. And like, oh, if you don't have a number here, we can't verify. And so that was a little problematic. That's why, when people go to China, I'm like, that's one of the places. If you want to use a travel agency or a tour agency, if you want to go on your own, sometimes it's easier because they can arrange that stuff for you just so
Hmm.
you have it. And I will say, there's like, you may think, oh, I'm on the train to Shanghai from Beijing. You have to realize there is literally like every 5 minutes there's a train that's going there. So you got to make sure you have the exact right one for you.
Uh,
So you're not trying to get on the
right.
wrong train. They're like, no, you missed your other one. Now you got to go through this again. So it can be a bit confusing.
I think that'd be an awesome YouTube series, just backpack in China for like 2 or 3 months. Because the challenges,
Oh,
the
yeah, no,
stories would be incredible.
I enjoyed it. My wife, like, because I worked in Beijing, she's like, I don't want to go back to Beijing, but she's like, I'd go back to Shanghai or Xi'an,
Mm,
do another teaching for the summer there. Probably when our kids are like, when they're both out of school, probably go back and start doing more teaching at foreign colleges in the summers. So,
hmm. Yeah, we'd love to visit. I've only been to Taiwan and Hong Kong, so technically not mainland. Okay, my next question for a country is an interesting one because I've never been, and it's Northern Ireland. And the reason I popped that on the list is because when I grew up in the 90s, all you'd hear about is IRA and bomb attacks. Yeah, and the
yeah.
troubles. So, what was your experience like of going to Northern Ireland, and did you learn about that sort of history?
So the first time I went was like 2007. So it was
Okay.
still pretty fresh.
Yeah.
It's funny because like first time it was 2007. First videos I put out from Northern Ireland that weren't probably until the 2020s. Maybe
Okay.
I had some earlier than that, like some in 2010s. But like I remember like the first time I was in Northern Ireland, I came into Derry, Londonderry, however I'm like, you just pick the right way
Yep.
to say it.
Yep.
Going into
Either
Derry,
either or.
there was a protest going on, and all the personnel carriers are there and all this stuff, and there's like this how long ago it was like Tony Blair, yeah, they're like a effigy of
Yeah.
Tony Blair they were going to burn or something. I'm like and so I'm like talking to like one of the military guys there, and he's like, yeah, no, you're fine, just don't go down there, just follow around, stay in the hall, go there, you'll be fine, just don't go there, just don't go there, you'll be fine. Okay. And I was like, all right. And so that was my first time in Northern Ireland going there. But then we ended up going to, Giant's Causeway and did some
Mm.
other things. Like, oh, this is cool. And then I went like 2008, 2011. I went. Let's see, I was in 2021. So I've gone multiple. Like, I've gone by myself. I've gone with friends. I've gone with my parents. I've gone with my kids. I've gone with my wife. And so it's always been a good time. But it's always interesting. It's like I remember the first time I went to Belfast. Took a train from Dublin to Belfast. You're like,
Okay.
you really like, especially like, oh, they're very similar. Like, yeah, but you feel a difference when you go through. Like the architecture is a big thing. It's just like you're like, oh, you can tell it's the UK because the architecture has much more like, oh, they brought in architecture from the UK or
Mm.
versus I mean international, but there's just a different vibe in those things. But I will say now, like the differences now, it's not like what it used to be. And
Yeah.
I was seeing like the comments on the videos from I had them from 10 years ago to now, like when I mentioned the troubles or hey, you don't want to like joke about it and like, oh, you can talk about it, it's no big deal, nobody cares. I'm like, let me guess, you're 24 and you're making,
Yeah.
yeah, please don't. Please go talk to your dad and your grandma and like,
Yeah.
yeah, and see what it's like. Yeah, because those things, people are traumatized for their whole life for it,
Yeah.
and I think they do a really good job. If you go like taking some of the black cab tours to give you like, but things like what side of the story they're going to give you, and stuff, and you can do a lot of tours to learn about the troubles and stuff. And I think it's a really good thing to go to, like going to the jail and seeing those things. I mean,
Mm.
it's really interesting thing, but it's not all dominating like it used to be. Of course, like
Yeah.
in the 80s, 90s, when these things were going down. Now it's like, I mean, honestly, people are like insulted that I even bring it up. Like, why would you even talk about that? I'm like, because it's still part of the history. Like, that's how when you go about a culture, you learn about the history, you have a better idea why things are the way they are.
I think it's an interesting space right now because the youngsters are so far removed from it because they probably were born after and don't remember anything. That yeah, they
Yeah,
probably just
I
don't
mean,
care that much.
I wish I grew up in a world where I didn't have violence when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Now kids got other violence they have to worry about. So
Yeah.
that's a
Sure.
whole other thing. You're like, ugh.
Yeah. I have to visit, and I think it's an interesting space right now with travel.
I'd recommend. If
Yeah.
you get back over, I'd go. I would
Yeah.
definitely go. I recommend it for people to go. I'm like, People are nice. I mean, now that Dublin's it's funny. I remember when I first got because Ireland, Northern Ireland. Like I remember how Ireland used to be a cheap place. Now, hell no. And Dublin is insane expensive. I'm like, you go to Belfast. Like before, I went
Yeah.
to Belfast. Like, oh my gosh, it's so expensive going to Belfast. Now you go to Belfast to save money,
Yeah.
versus Dublin.
Ireland's crazy, isn't it, for prices?
Oh yeah.
Republic of Ireland, yeah.
What I feel bad is for the people that have gone there or moved there, or the locals that live there. There's just nowhere to live.
Yeah.
And the
Housing
houses get
problem, yeah.
so expensive. Like that's where we go that over tourism. When people get upset about over tourism, like I don't think people are upset with over tourism. I think what they're upset about is I can't afford to live,
Yeah.
and a lot of it is because all the apartment rentals that came up, and all of a sudden when you're I mean it's maybe 5% of the city no longer is no longer used for people to live there. You might
Mm.
not think that's a lot, but a city isn't made to have 20% capacity extra. It's made to be where it is. Now that buffer isn't there anymore, drives the price of the other thing. So I know
Yeah.
that's one of the places like Ireland you really see it, like especially Dublin especially you really
Yeah.
see it. Like I've had friends that end up quitting their jobs because like I can't justify never not find a place to live, or what I have to do is I have to go Airbnb to Airbnb to Airbnb.
Yeah.
And I had a buddy of mine. He literally was doing this for he's like 4 months, 5 months. Of this he's like 2 weeks here, 3 days here, 4 weeks here. Like always around. It's like I love my job, but I can't do this anymore.
Mm.
And he quit, and they're like, well, we'll figure something out. He's like, I can't do this anymore. So he they ended up finding him a place, and so the work got him a place. So he's like, but it's not the most ideal place, but it's a place, and he doesn't have to move.
And it's a
So
problem for Ireland because it's such an idyllic place to live, I think. It's like a little sanctuary within Europe where well, I don't live there, but I assume it's pretty safe, especially in the smaller
yeah,
towns around the
oh, yeah.
country. And it's
Ireland's
just,
great.
yeah, it's just like a place to be if you want to just have a nice little chill out life. But it's just so expensive now.
Yeah, and I tell travelers all the time, like your first trip to Europe, you're scared to go to Ireland.
Yeah, that's what I say to Americans. Yeah, just go to Ireland.
Go
Yeah.
to Ireland. You know the language, even if the accent's a little interesting.
Yeah.
The food's good. I mean, another thing that's changed in the time I've been there. Ireland's got good food.
Yes, of
And
course.
before it was kind of a joke. Now you're like, no, they got good
No,
stuff.
good
Like they
food.
took the foodie revolution in the early 2000s seriously, and now
Yeah.
you do well. But it's just like it's safe. Yeah, driving on the other side of the road is a little interesting at first, but you get used to it. And it's an island, so hey, you're not gonna get that lost, man. Like,
Yeah.
oh hey,
Very true. Okay, I've got a few more questions before we get onto YouTube. And have you got anything coming up for travels in 2025?
oh yeah. Now we're heading to the Balkans we'll go down there because I've been to a few places down there, but I'm taking the youngest and hopefully both the kids are good, but we'll see because the oldest one's going to school now. So
Yeah.
take them down there, show them down that area. Take my parents to France and Germany. My dad has had this painting of a castle in Heidelberg
Okay.
for my entire life. It was like my
Yeah.
great 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 uncle painted it like in the early 1800s, like 1700s, and it's been like my parents have lived in two houses my entire life, and that painting has been in my dad's bathroom for 40 years. Well, my entire life, so it was like almost 50 years. And I'm like, you gotta go see the castle, Dad.
Yeah.
In front of this castle for 50 years. You gotta see it. So I'm taking them to go see that. And then we've got other things like this summer we're gonna go to Canada and go to Banff and
Oh,
maybe go
lovely.
to Alaska. So we got a bunch of stuff. We got a bunch of stuff coming up.
Do you base your travels on YouTube or what you want to go and see and do, or both?
Both. So we let our fans choose destinations. Oddly enough,
Hmm.
this year they chose Korea and Banff, which I thought was odd. They tied. They literally tied.
Wow.
I'm like, okay. So I got the Banff funds. Then Korea's had some political things recently,
Hmm.
so with their press, I'm like, okay, we'll wait for the end of the year for that. But Banff, we already got that one booked. And then my oldest, we went to Panama and Mexico City because there's stuff with him. And my youngest, he starts to pick his go to Alaska. So
Hmm.
right now it's like we might go to Alaska for a little bit, but he doesn't want to go for a long time. He just wants to go see it. So probably go there for him. And then usually like the Balkans is one, like for years we've had people going, you gotta go to Serbia, you gotta go to Serbia, go to
Mm.
Serbia, come to Serbia. And so I'm like, all right, we're gonna go. So that's like people ask for that. We don't have videos there. And the thing is, like, I know doing the Balkans, they're not gonna get a lot of views because not a lot of tourists go there. Even though like, oh, Albania is the new
Not
cool
yet.
place.
Yeah.
It's not gonna pay the bills. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they're not. But part of what I do is I want to educate people to travel everywhere they can go.
Hmm.
Even if it's places like Rwanda where not a lot of people go, so you're not gonna make money on that. But you know what? It's helping people travel better. So I'm like, let's do it. And then I'll probably end up having to do like a Like my wife's going to go to Italy and film in the fall. It's like, okay, so Italy videos, we know people watch.
Do very well.
France
Yeah.
videos, we know they're going to watch.
Fail.
Like
Yeah.
I got a whole new New York City series coming. So it's like,
Hmm.
all right, we've got some stuff. So it's kind of one of those things I kind of have to filter it in because like I went to Italy and France for a few weeks in January, and so it's like Paris and Lyon and Torino and Florence and Pisa, Venice. So like okay, those ones I can film those and put those in, because those ones usually do well and they pay the bills. I mean, part of it is like doing this is not this like social media. You don't make a lot of money.
Oh
It's
God,
not
no.
this is like it's if I break even, I'm happy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like we have to have some of those so then we can go and afford to do go to North Macedonia, which will get, maybe 20,000 views in 5 years, And I think that's one of the things that I think that's a little different from some other YouTubers. Like I really focus on travel education,
Hmm.
not necessarily travel inspiration. Because like Instagram, TikTok are great for inspiration. People do a great job. Like, oh, I want to go there. That looks cool. But I'm like, look, you decide to go there, then you come talk to me. Then I give you what you need to know, the culture, the food, the scams, those kind of things. So it's very different. So like my videos aren't made to go viral. Like you don't
Sure.
a 22-minute video about the don'ts of going to Crete. It's not a viral video. It's an education video to get you ready to go there. So people actually watch it are the people that are going to spend the money when they're there. They're going there, not like, oh, where should I go? So it's a different kind of vibe to it. So that's one of those things where I see things different. So it's like, okay, where do people need help? And when I like, for example, like I did a bunch of stuff in Brazil before the Olympics in 2016, went back before the World Cup as well, because there's so much like negative news about Brazil. I'm like, this isn't right. I want people to have a better time, be safe, do that. So a lot of times what I'll do when I know an event's coming up, I'm going to go film. Like I've already filmed the first part of the don'ts of going to the World Cup in the USA, Mexico, and
Oh yeah.
Canada.
That's
So
big on my list coming up.
I felt because we had the Copa America here in the U.S.
Yeah.
I went to one of the matches there, so we have like at a stadium kind of stuff
Hmm.
because the rules are the same. So I
Yeah.
was going through those, and then once they announced the new rules, like early first part of next year, then I can go. Hey, I'll go to one of the other stadiums. Like, okay, you're going to go here. What you should know, and then I can have it set up like literally every city that's hosting. I'll have a don'ts video for every single city, a food video from every single city. So if you get, hey, I can watch Wolters World Cup thing. So
Interesting. Yeah, that's on my list because I've been to World Cup before, so I'm gonna do a comparison. I went to Brazil World Cup in 2014, which was an amazing experience. But my question for I've got loads of questions for YouTube, but my first question is because I'm quite new. I'm like maybe 2 years in, and I've done okay. But what I can't work out is why certain locations do better, and I want to get your opinion on that. Because, for example, 3 countries done well: Italy, France, and El Salvador. But countries that I thought would do well that hasn't done well: Guatemala, Mexico, and Canada don't just seem to do that well either. So, any ideas on that, or is that just purely luck and based on the algorithm at the time?
well, part of it, like Guatemala, like El Salvador, I was surprised my El Salvador videos did well as well. But I think because it was in the news, there wasn't a lot of competition for it.
Yeah,
Guatemala, because the lakes, that's been kind of a popular destination for a
yeah,
while. So it's kind of like the competition. Like I haven't gone to Bali because I know like if I do stuff in Bali, there's so much competition there. There's
yeah,
nothing. Like it's gonna be so hard to get through it all. But like for me, my Spain videos, like Spain, like the second or third most visited country, right, in Europe or whatever,
yeah,
they never do anything. But like France does fine, Italy does
yeah.
fine, Germany does fine, England does great, Ireland does great. I'm like Finland does great. So I'm like Spain. But then I kind of go into it and go, well, how do people travel there? Look what they're going to do. Mexico. They're going to Mexico. Are they going for cult? No, they're going to Cancun. They're going to
Yeah,
Cabo. And if they want culture, they go to Mexico City.
yeah.
And so those are ones like my Cancun videos, and that did well. But when I did like non-Cancun stuff,
Hmm.
not much. I literally just got, when I finish this, I have to go finish editing the mistakes of going to Mexico. And I know that one will do well, but I filmed that in Mexico City. And I've got I think 2 weeks ago, I got the don'ts of Mexico City coming out. I'm like, that'll be a test. Do people watch non-beach videos when you go there? And so that's kind of interesting. And that's why you're like, people are like, oh, I want to know the hidden gems. Like you might want the hidden gems, but 9 times out of 10, people are going to Paris.
Sure.
They're not
Yeah,
going
yeah.
to
Of
Bordeaux.
course.
Like some people go to Bordeaux, but that's the locals that go to Bordeaux. It's other French people. And French people aren't watching an English speaker talk about
Of
going to
course.
Bordeaux.
Yeah.
you know? And what's interesting is when I look at my videos, the people who watch it the most aren't tourists. They're people that are from that country or that city want to know, what do people say about my country or city? And that's why
Ah.
I always feel really good, because I get a lot of comments like, you really did your research. You really sound like a local. You did the right thing. Of course, you have the people that are like, I've never heard of this ever. This food isn't famous. Like, you've never heard of sushi in Vancouver. Well, I never ate it, so it's not real. I'm like, just because you never ate it. Because one thing I would tell you, like, when I get information from locals, because I always reach out to locals, like I will
Mm.
blogs, talk to people, fans. I've found locals are really great for restaurants, like in
Yeah.
food stuff, but they suck for accommodation because they don't know. They live there.
Yeah, of
So
course.
I don't go to the hotels.
Yeah.
And also in terms of really knowing like how to get around to the tourist sites, they also suck at that, because they like, oh, I went there. I'm like, when we went in high school, like we had a school trip there. Oh, I had to take
Yeah.
my kid there for a thing. Like, they're not geared up. So I always do a bunch of research about the destination itself, so I can be a tour guide for my friends that live there. And then I let them be the guide with the food, but also for like, hey, what are the cultural things? What are things that tourists mess up? Like, I have a whole new series. Like, I have these 5 love and hate videos, but now I've come up with new ones, things that tourists do that annoy the locals. That's what I thought
That's a good
that
one.
was this whole series. Like, I thought that series would have done better, but
Yeah.
whatever. But it's like, at least I can get that out there, so people really do care. It watches, it gets viewed. Other things, I think, the competition on videos, how many videos are already out there. Also, what you're kind of known for. Like, for me, I know if I put something for South America, Asia, Canada, it's not going to get shown. I have to do a don'ts of someplace in Europe.
Right.
Like, that will get shown out to places. Not like
Mhm.
driving trains. No, but that destination, that country, that's it. They're gonna show that in Europe. That'll do well. Whereas if I do in other places, like, I'll get people, they'll be like, "You never do anything but Europe." I'm like, actually, I have like 500 videos on Latin America. The reason why you don't see it is because you don't watch
Mhm.
Latin America videos, so the algorithm doesn't show it to you. But also, the algorithm says Walter's World is European travel, and so I'm like, no, we do other things too. But since the algorithm says for this, so if you're looking up European travel stuff, Walter's World's probably going to show up. If you're looking at Latin America, well, probably something else will show up. So
That's
it
quite
is
an
kind
interesting. That's an interesting remark. Sorry, because if you're traveling around the world like we do, there's
yeah.
there's no niche in that really. It may be apart from how you travel, maybe, but I want to go to South America and Europe and Asia, and I'll record it. But I guess you got to accept as a YouTuber that maybe Asia's just not going to get your views because you're not being shown in the algorithm to show that content.
And that's why you'll see, like, there's some really big channels that just focus on, like, there's a guy that lives in Japan, and
Abroad in Japan, yeah. Yeah.
and he's got billions of
Millions.
views,
Yeah.
and millions of followers, but he just talks about Japan stuff because it's just that focus.
Yeah.
And then, like, Lace Frenchies, it's like, I think they're American couple or Canadian couple that live in France, millions and millions of views. They have good videos too, but they're like, look, we know our stuff. We're talking about coming to France. We're not wasting our time. And I think that's what happens, because sometimes when you branch out, then your audience is like, no, stick to your France stuff.
Mm.
You're like, there's some people I like. They have good like travel advice videos, but they get nothing. But their thing is, when they put out a packing video or a luggage video, I know it's going to get 100,000 views because that's what they're known for. So it's like,
Yeah.
boom. And so that's why you kind of go with it. And to make a living at this, you have to. Like, that's why I'm lucky. I have a day job, so I don't have to do that. So I can do any
Sure.
place I want to go. So I can help anybody anywhere, because I'm not worried. If I don't get 100,000 views on this video, I won't be able to pay my rent. If I don't get 100,000 views on this video, I guess we're eating
Maybe it's the next
macaroni and
one.
cheese at home, craft dinner, instead of
Yeah,
going out
craft,
to
yeah.
the restaurant. So it's not life or death.
Got it.
Which is good, which has helped me be very honest with my videos, because I don't have
Yes.
to kiss anybody's butt. Whereas I know people that they're getting paid to go and talk about a place, and you're like, well, if you're paid to talk about a place, are you really going to be? Can you be really fully honest about it? No, because they're going to want to know. We want changes. Do this, and I'm like, I'd rather pay all my own, which I do. I pay for all my own stuff, and then if I'm there and I make the video, great. If I like it, I like it, great. If I don't, oh well. But I mean, financially, it's kind of sucks for me. Like, if I would have taken the money, I'd be so much better off. But I'm like, I want to help people. Like, and
But you are known.
I get so tired. I get
You
so
are known-
tired of all the blogs that were like taking money, or at least just BSing people. I'm like, that's not right. So,
Yeah, but that's
sorry.
not you, is it? That's not you.
Not me.
You're known for being honest. I think you got like 1.12 million subscribers, which is unbelievable. But I think when you did your introduction at TravelCon, you gave a quote. I can't remember the quote, but it did basically say that you are still one of the very last few honest travel reviewers out there, because that's what you did before and you carried it on. So I think you doing a paid travel YouTube video just wouldn't go with your brand and you as a person, right?
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like we do sponsor stuff, but it's very, very rarely, because literally, I wouldn't say 9 times out of 10, I'll say 99 times out of 100, if we get a brand deal offer or something, I'm like, look, if you want an ad, then we could, like, did you payment made ad, but like if you want me to like make your product look better than this, it's not going to happen, because for me to get this one-time payoff to say this product is amazing when I don't think it is, that ruins my reputation. Then no one can trust me on anything I ever say. So that's why I'm like, it'd be better for me to do an honest review of your thing, talk about the good and the bad, and then people make their decisions, because everyone knows not everything's perfect, but a lot of brands like, no, they want to have so much control over it. I'm like, nah. So I work with some like Rosetta Stone. I did a thing with them, and the reason why I used it when I was a kid.
Yeah.
You know, and I like the thing. We did a thing with Ford, because I drive a Ford. My father-in-law runs a Ford dealer. Like, I can say, look, this is what it's like driving an Expedition, because I drive an Expedition. If all of a sudden it's like, oh, let me talk about the Porsche 911 Cayenne or whatever, like, dude, I can't even fit in a Porsche. Right, so there's no point in me doing. That's why I'm like, look, if it fits, it's a product I believe in. And there's been products, like I'm looking at a product right now over there that I 100% believe in. They actually reached out to me to make content for them. Like, they're like, we'll send you the stuff, we'll pay you. I'm like, oh, you don't have to send it. I already have 2 of them right now. Like 2, like I got 2 of them. That's how much your stuff's amazing. Yeah. Like, great. Well, make your script, send us. We'll tell you the changes and film it. Then we'll tell you what to change. It has to be like this. And if you don't do, I'm like, look, I can't do it that way. Like, I want to make an honest review. And like, I literally have nothing bad to say about your product, because I love it. I freaking love it. There's only one thing I would change, but otherwise it's amazing. And they're like, no, we can't do this. I'm like,
wow.
I love your product. So even then, when it's like, I'm 100% behind you, swear to God, when people ask me, I tell them about this product every single time, buy this, use this product. Do you have it? If you're a YouTuber, I 100% recommend it. If you're a traveler YouTuber, it's the best thing to have for this thing. But I'm like, they're like, no, we want, I'm like, if you want an ad, then pay for an ad. Don't ask me to make something that's like not really real. So.
But do you think YouTubers who do it full time are under pressure maybe to do the ad because they need the income?
Yeah, 100%. I can't fault them. That's what I'm saying. I don't fault them for that, because I have a family. I got to feed my kids, right? Luckily, I have a day job and I teach at a really good school. So I'm like, I can pay for my kids' food. But yeah, I was talking to one of my buddies. He was actually at TravelCon with us. And he was talking about, he saw these Instagram or TikTokers that were literally like, he's like, they were like following the from place to place, because they're offering a little bit of money here and a little bit of money here, and they're literally like, I gotta do this because like I otherwise I don't have the content, or I can't pay my rent, so I gotta do these things. And I'm like, you're never really developing your own business, your own brand, if all you're doing is following the money, because then what are you? You're just following the money.
Yeah, exactly, right? That.
And so but the thing is, I'm like, but you can't live on nothing, so you have to make money somehow. And that's where I think people sometimes don't realize it's not free. Like, that's where, you know, being a travel YouTuber is really expensive, because travel is not cheap. You know?
Yeah, and a
like,
podcaster as well.
Man, if I could just sit here, let me tell you about, like, so the people that like just sit with their computer, like, let me tell you the stuff I found on ChatGPT. This is what it's like. Yeah, they have zero, the $20 a month for the ChatGPT prompt. You know, like, that's all they have. Whereas like anybody that goes on a vacation knows that it's expensive.
Yeah.
Right. So
it's a problem.
That's where it's like, I can understand. We're like, man, if I just did a faceless channel and talked about crazy facts of history,
yeah,
but you'll do fine.
Even gaming channels, I'm like, oh, I'm so envious, because they just buy the console once, the monitor, they buy a few games, and like, oh,
they got the counts of the top biggest games, and that's not even the price of the ticket.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If you're starting as a travel YouTuber, let's go with this. What are 3 things that they should really be starting with their YouTube channel? What are the top 3 things you could maybe say?
Number 1, before you do anything, go watch your favorite travel YouTubers and YouTubers in general, and write down what you like about what they do and what you don't like about what they do, and learn from that. Like, oh, you like that? Why do you like that? Why does it make you want to watch? Could you learn from that? Things you don't like to do. Well, are you going to make that mistake? And learn from them that way. So when you start to develop what you want to make, have that in your mind, and you always want to kind of keep up with that. Second, I would say is don't wait, just start making videos. Like I said, your first video is going to suck. Second video is going to suck just a little bit less, and you get better over time. Watch your videos, edit your videos. There's tons of people online that help you. Like Nick Nimmin does a really great job. Daryl Eves got all kinds of stuff. I mean, video creators, vidIQ, TubeBuddy. There's so many things that can help you get better. Like watch those to help you do it. But one thing I want to really focus on is make good content. Like a lot of people are like, why does no one watch my video? Because your video sucks. I'm like, my videos aren't great. Like some of them are really, like, I think the information I give you is great. My editing's not fantastic, not amazing. I'm not doing 3,000 cuts in a scene, you know, but I'm like, hey, my information is good information. Like I'm bringing the value of good information so you can travel and travel better. That's what I'm focusing on, right? Figure out what you want to focus on and do the best you can at that. Because if you're just imitating everyone else, does anyone want to go to McDonald's too? No. If I want McDonald's, I go to McDonald's, right? If I want a Whopper, I go to Burger King. I don't go to Burger King to get a Big Mac, you know, that's not what I go there for. And that's what you have to think about. It's like, hey, you know, do your own thing, but learn from other people, right? And just upload. Because so many people I talk to, they come talk to me. Like I have a lot of students that'll come see me in my office hours and they'll be like, hey, I want to start a YouTube channel. I'm like, cool. I'll help them figure it out, all this kind of stuff. Like, but you know, come back in 3 weeks. I want you to make at least a few videos. Either don't come back or they come back like 2 months later. I haven't made the video yet because I'm trying to make it perfect. I'm like, just make the video. Your first, it's not going to get 1 million views.
No.
Your first 100, it ain't going to happen. I mean, okay, well, this person it happened to, yes, that can happen, but in general, it's not going to happen. And realize that it takes time. They'll say, like I always said before COVID, there's like a 3-year window of how people were like in the travel podcast YouTuber industry. First year, you're just trying to figure it out, what's going on. Second year, you get some traction. Third year, oh, I'm starting to make some money. Then it's the fourth year. Am I making enough money to survive on this? Is mom and dad not going to give me more money? What's going on? If we can keep going, then they keep going. But otherwise, you'll see like it's about a 3-4 year window. Ooh. Yeah, and you have like I see in the travel space now, there's a lot of people like there's a digital nomad life. Yeah, it was like, of course, van life became digital nomad life, and it's like, wait, I got this digital nomad life. I've got to make some kind of content to substitute my earnings because doing the digital nomad life, I'm doing project based stuff. Sometimes you make money, but sometimes you don't need projects. So what can I do to make some other money? They start making that, but they're not making really good content. They're just making stuff because I need to do this to pay the bills until this other thing goes, and then it's like you know, you kind of have this, and so that's why I think like. You have this huge boom right now, but also I see a difference because now all the people that are coming up into the YouTube space now, they grew up always wanting to be a YouTuber as a kid.
Yes.
So it's a whole different ball game than it was when I started, when no one wanted to do this. I mean, I got ridiculed about being a YouTuber for decades, you know, for 15, 16, 17 years, people making fun of me. I'm like, dude, whatever. Like I'm on the news, I'm on TV, I got all this stuff. I got my gold play button. I got this stuff. I show that to my students. They're like, ooh, hey. What's that? So it's an interesting world.
Okay. And someone asked me at the TravelCon, actually, a few people asked, what should I do to get started in travel podcasting? And my first thing was travel. Because you're going to need some stories to tell and some tips to share. And that's the big thing where I find, I don't know if you find this or see this, where in the travel podcast or YouTube space, they want to become that, but they haven't actually traveled that much. And I'm like, well, you got to travel first. I think the only thing we've got on our side, if you're starting now, is at least you've got 10, 15, 20 years of travel behind you. And as long as you remember those tips and stories and you can share that in a good way, that's cool, isn't it? But imagine if you're trying to start now and you haven't traveled, you've got 2 things to really get better at, YouTube and travel.
Yeah, and life experience. I mean, that's one of those things. And you know, I think that's a really good thing you give them. And that's what I say, you got to travel because you'll have the ones that are up there. I swear, like, at least people have kind of gotten away from we sold everything to see the world. I'm like, you're 22, so you were living in an apartment in college that your parents were renting for you with the included furniture. So you sold your Xbox and some of your old Pokemon cards, which can be a lot of money, by the way. I can understand that. It's hard to get rid of those things. I have some too. But like it was one of those things, like, but I understand why they did it, because it was to show, like, look what we sacrificed to, like, we made the plunge. But now so many people did it. No one says it anymore. It's like, oh, well, everyone, we know. We did that. Okay, we got you. It's like, get to the point. I think that's another thing I would tell people. Don't waste time telling the story. Like, all the ones that are like, well, before we show you the city, I got to show you our hotel, our flight, and then our morning coffee, and then we'll go do that. But, I mean, coffee's important to some people. Like, I want to learn about Paris, and that's one of those things. is it depends. You always have to think about your audience too. Who's watching your stuff and who you think's watching your stuff may be different. So it's always good to look at those analytics because most people think, oh, it's just old people watching your video because you got gray hair and you're bald. I'm like, no, actually, over half my audience is significantly younger than me.
Yeah. And do you think the first 30 seconds to 45 seconds is key for your video? Just
Oh
based
yeah,
on your point there, like get to the point. Surely
yeah.
in
Get to the
in
point.
that window you gotta nail it.
That's a mistake I make. I mean, because I always do. Hey there, fellow travelers, Mark here with Wolters, and today we're here in Chicago, Illinois. Today we're talking about the don'ts of going to Chicago, and I'll say some other crap. Like, no, just get to the point. Actually, so I've got all these videos. So I've got a new big batch of videos I'm sending out, and what I'm going to start doing now is actually cutting out one of my don'ts or shocks and using that as the intro, and then going to the hey there, fellow
Oh yeah.
travelers.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
the thing
yeah.
is, my thing, my hey there, fellow travelers, that's like my line. So it's like you have to say it. It's like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
He has to say, "I'll be back." You know, like
Sure. Yeah.
I have to say, hey there, fellow travelers. Yeah, that's why, like in VidCon, I'm like,
Yeah.
I was putting my thing together. I'm like, oh my god, I don't say, hey there, fellow travelers at the beginning. I have to say, hey there, fellow travelers, Mark here with Wolters World. Even though, even though most people don't realize my name is Mark, they're always like, Wolter, Wolter.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I didn't know your name was Mark. I'm like, I literally say at the beginning of every single video, hey there, fellow travelers, this is Mark from Wolters World. Literally every single time, every time.
It's interesting, isn't it? Okay. And one more question.
James like, your name is Mark. It says Mark.
Yeah. Yeah. I do wonder if you do need. I call myself Hamo on YouTube because that's my last name shortened, and I think it just gives that nice little, what do you call it? You're like a mate, that sort of vibe. I like to give that sort of vibe, and also makes it authentic. Which comes to my next question: are we in this world of clickbait content where authenticity as a YouTuber, as a traveler, is really difficult because the clickbait stuff just gets through quicker or it gets clicked on more, hence the word clickbait? Like, is that a tough challenge to face?
Yeah, I mean, I don't like. Some people say that our stuff's clickbait sometimes. Like, well, that wasn't shocking enough. I'm like, it's culture shocks, which can be anything, right? And
Yeah.
so it's like you have to have some kind of clickiness, otherwise people don't click. It's
Yeah.
just this that you continuously have stuff that doesn't resonate, and people notice that. Then they're like, oh, that's that guy. I'm not going to click on that because he never gets to the point or never talks about the stuff. And YouTube sees that because the people who click on a video and it's called a bounce rate. They bounce
Yeah,
off
that's right. Yeah.
right away, like you're not doing it to it for them. Like they check that, so it hurts you in the long run. Now in the short run, hey, yeah, I get the clickbait stuff, but now everyone's using the same ChatGPT prompts, same
Yeah.
Gemini prompts to get. So it's like they're all having the same thing. You're like, how do I make it? And that's where it's really tough to like be noticed over other ones. Now over time, like I have videos that start picking up like 6 months later.
Oh,
You know,
right.
it's like
Yeah,
it
yeah.
finally, it's like it just muddles through, and then eventually it's like, oh, okay, now we found our audience. Now we know who to give it to. So, and I think YouTube does a pretty good job of getting that to there eventually. Just right now, there's just so many people making travel content.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of good, but there's a lot of really garbage ones, and I think there's a lot of really bad. Like I was pulling back a little bit making content. And then like last year, I saw all these really horrible Instagram and TikTok travel people. Like it's obvious they just went through, like, give me the 20 biggest travel hacks. And they just started making one video for each one.
Mhm.
And I'm like, that one's horrible. Like there's one, I mean, I honestly, like, I like her. I met her as a person. She's really fun. She's on TV. She does stuff, but she'll give hacks. I'm like, you realize if you get caught, you'll be on blacklisted from that airline. It could be because it's a different country, so different rules. But like you do
Yeah.
that with like American, United, your butt is gone. And guess what? You're not flying with them ever again.
Mm.
Yeah, and it's like the other ones, they're always talking about the they shouldn't do this one. This is another good person to do this one. He always is like, yeah, I always do the the poor man's first class. I buy 3 refundable tickets. It's like, well, if you're really smart, you buy 2 refundables and 1 non-refundable because you're going to use that one. And it's
Yeah.
like, then 30 minutes before the flight, I cancel those 2, so I get the whole row to myself. I'm like, dude, that's not how flights work, man. They're all oversold now, so those seats are
Yeah. Yeah.
taken.
Overbooked.
And it's in the terms of service will say, if you do this, we have the right to refuse service to you. And
Mhm.
so they're like, I do it all the time. Like, no, he doesn't. Yeah, that's the kind of BS that pisses me off. It's like, you don't do
Yeah.
that. You maybe do it sometimes, but you don't do it that much because you're going to get banned, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, or you're in an airline that doesn't care, which is fine. Or there's the one, yeah, if you don't want to pay the $12 for paying for a seat on Ryanair, what you do is you book 6 seats, because you can book 6 seats back, and you book all the middle seats that are available last minute, and it holds it for 10 minutes. And that's when you go on another computer, and then you say, oh, well, I want to get my free seat, and that's all that's available. So then you can get your aisle seat for free. And I'm like, For that much effort, dude,
$12.
get the freaking $12 for a seat reservation. My God. If you can't
Yeah.
afford it, then don't go. It
Yeah.
just frustrates me because then people will watch content like that and then they'll try to do it and they don't know that this person is doing these things. They're using a VPN for this or they're doing this. They have their phone, not their same computer, open it up, and then they're going to get banned. And I'm like, you're a douche because you're trying to like get these clicks, but you're doing stuff that's going to get people in trouble or get people hurt. I'm like, that's not right. That's the honest me. I'm like,
Yeah.
F you, man. F you for that kind of stuff. Like, that is not right. And they don't care because, like, I got my clicks. I got 400 million views on this thing because I did this. You're like, yeah. And how many people are now can't travel?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a problem. Okay. And no. I was kind of go with another question, but I might leave it.
I think of like people that haven't traveled before. They don't know, and they watch some TikTok.
Yeah.
Does that. Next thing you know, like they can't fly again, or they go to a destination that literally is just the one Instagram picture shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're like, that's all that's really there, and you're like, yeah, that's nice for a day, man, but don't spend 3 days there to get. It's just that one shot. It's like a few years ago, the Blue City in Morocco. That was everybody had that. And you're like, yeah, it's blue, it's beautiful, but I'd go down to Marrakesh instead and have like more fun and more things to do. Just saying. Oh no, I gotta go there for that. And they go and they're like, yeah, I got my blue pictures. I'm like, and that makes for a nice Instagram picture, which makes you no money.
Yeah.
I got some likes, which makes you make you no money. I'm like, I'm not saying you always have to make money, but it's like you have to realize that sometimes, I mean, it's cool to have a picture, but I don't know.
It's kind of ties.
It's tough to have the balance.
Well, it ties into the short form content, which I'm not a fan of for travel, for some of the reasons you just mentioned. And I know you can't go too hard on it because obviously at the event we had, there's lots of short form creators there. But it's not my bag. But I think that's another conversation. But I think the problem with that is you will see the best 30 seconds of their trip, but that's not the total story. Like, that's why long form content, in my opinion, should be watched more than short form. But that is another conversation.
Yeah, that is a whole other conversation. But it's true. Like anybody's life seems fantastic if you break down to 30 seconds of highlights.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Okay. And for people who are listening or watching, so Wolters World, where can people find you on social media, website, and obviously YouTube?
Yeah, so on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, any of the social medias, look for Wolters World, WOLTERS World, and you'll find us there. You can find us on woltersworld.com if you want to read the blog versions of the videos. But yeah, reach out anytime. Always like to help. If you can't remember that, just look up the don'ts and insert some country in Europe, because that'll show up.
Yeah.
And you'll see a bald guy with a beard and be like, hey, that's that chubby guy that was talking on that travel podcast. That'll be me.
Or they can head to the show notes and see the links. That would be.
There you go.
It can't be any easier. Yeah. Okay, we're going to finish the episode with a little feature I do. It's the 2 minutes at the end. These are quick fire travel questions. So
okay. Let me stretch out a bit. Okay.
Whatever comes into your mind.
Let's do it.
Okay. You're not going to like some of them, but that's the whole point. Your top 3 favorite countries.
My 3 favorite countries: Brazil, Italy, and France. Outside the U.S., because that's where I'm from, so always default that cannot be an answer.
Yeah, that is a default. Tomorrow, if you're going to 3 new countries, no rules, where are you going to go?
Egypt, Bhutan, New Zealand.
Okay, and what is the top 3 favorite for cuisine?
Brazil, Italy, France. Same as the other one. Might be a correlation between that.
Okay. What about 3 favorite walks, treks, or hikes?
Inca Trail. Incredible. Anywhere in Ireland after it rains, not while it's raining. And then along the beach in João Pessoa, Brazil.
Okay. Are you a sunrise or a sunset person?
I am a sunset person because I don't want to wake up.
Okay. And if you could sit somewhere with a cup of coffee or glass of wine, whatever you want to choose, for an afternoon and watch the world go by, where are you going to sit?
Am I by myself or am I with people?
I normally go by yourself at this point. Yeah.
By myself, I would probably go France. Anywhere just small. I would say not tiny, but small city in France.
Okay. And which country has the best coffee?
I don't drink coffee, but from my experience, Finland has the best coffee.
Okay. Which country has the best beer or wine?
Best beer. Some people like to say, Czech's good, Germany's good. I'm probably have to go with Germany for beer.
Okay. And tomorrow, if you're going to go and live somewhere for a year and only that place, nowhere else, where are you going to live? That can't be USA.
Probably Vicenza, Italy. or I'll go back to Lisbon.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I have friends there and I know people, so I'd like be going back to like home.
Okay. Gonna go with a slightly negative one. 3 places that you're not fussed about going back to.
Brussels, Panama, and
Okay. Tell me a high adrenaline activity that you've completed and that was like, wow, unbelievable. Probably won't be experienced again.
surfing in Costa Rica. Not quite that flexible anymore. Um, let's see. There was the parts of the Inca Trail where the trail is gone and you really literally were jumping. This is like 25, 30 years ago. And
Okay.
you're literally like jumping over a crevasse. You're like, oh, if you misjump this, you're going to die. Which at the time, like, cool. And then let's see, a third one, adrenaline thing. Running of the bulls. Not in Pamplona, but I was in Peñascola, which is the funniest
Yeah.
named town in Spain. And like they put like fire on the bull's horns and you can like run in this little thing with them. And I got a thing about this far away. And I'm like, I don't want to do this. I'm not doing this ever again. So there you go.
Okay. Penultimate question is about people. The top 3 favorite places for the kindness of people.
Kindness, man. There's a lot of really kindness. There's a lot of kind places. I found Ireland, like they can be total jerks when it comes to commenting online. They have one of the thinnest skins when it comes to commenting
Sure.
on stuff, but they'll be the nicest people and they'll look out for you. Other nice people. I think the French people, because people treat them so like they have this reputation that they're not, that they actually are really nice. Let's see. I think Americans are super nice too because they're going, but that's my country, so I can't put that in there. So I'd be that. Where else? Rwanda. God, the people are so nice there. They were super nice.
And the last question is, if someone's listening right now who's a bit nervous about traveling to places outside of their comfort zone, different cultures, what 2 sentences can you give to encourage them to go and make that leap?
Don't worry. We're all the same. We all want to have a good time, have fun, spend time with our friends, eat good food. You have a connection with people right there. Don't be afraid. And if you are afraid, do your research. Watch our videos before you go. You'll feel better about going. You'll know more of the stuff and you'll be better prepared to enjoy your time. So get up and go travel.
That's awesome. Mark, thanks for coming on to the podcast. It's been a great chat. And I've got the links in the show notes for people to click any of those things you just said, videos, social media, etc. And I think it's been really engaging, not only just for travel content, but also if someone's looking to go into YouTube as well, some ideas there and some tips and tricks. So thanks so much for making time. I appreciate it.
I'm glad to help out. You have yourself a good one, my friend.
Cheers, dude. Thank you.